Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Little Storytime with Little Rover. It's time to turn off some bad, nightmarish news and concentrate on something lighthearted, something that is just a way to calm down anxiety. Today, what we have for you is a great story that goes something like this. Once upon a time, there lived a hedgehog named Rover. He was beautiful. He had a friend named Oscar and the owl. On a bright sunny day, they decided to go to the field and explore. The two friends came across a field of sunflowers, and in the field there was a sunflower that stood out from the rest. It was brighter from the rest, and when they came across it, they found a caterpillar on it. They came up to the caterpillar and introduced themselves. The caterpillar introduced himself as Mr. Heartsick. Both Rover and Oscar the owl were mesmerized by the beauty of the shining sunflower and were delighted by the sight of Mr. Heartsick. Mr. Heartsick took it upon himself to introduce Rover and Oscar to friend Mrs. Woodsy, the butterfly. Mrs. Woodsy just came back from France, where she was studying to become a fashion designer. Mrs. Woodsy met the top fashion designers in France while studying. Hard work takes you far in life. Mrs. Woodsy was such a talented fashion designer that she landed a prestigious job of the editor of the top fashion magazine in the country. Her talents did not just stop being a fashion pro. Oh no. Mrs. Woodsy also was the top scientist in France. How she became one of the top scientists is an interesting story in itself. Mrs. Woodsy was attending a prestigious high school when she was assigned to do a science fair project about the effect of salt on the freezing point of water. The judges were so impressed by the presentation that they gave her an outstanding score on her project. Mrs. Woodsy was thrilled to receive an outstanding completion, so she spent months preparing for the regionals. She prepared for the competition by buying beautiful clothes that were delivered to her by the designated driver. Mrs. Woodsy's father was a wealthy businessman in France, and he was the president of the prestigious Butterfly Country Club and Resort still. He wanted to instill good values of hard work and perseverance in his daughter and encourage her to pursue everything that she was passionate about. Like arts and sciences. Mrs. Woodsy spent several months putting her work together. One of the judges that judged her at the science fair was a proclaimed contributor to the top science magazine in the country. His name was Mr. Goodkind. Mr. Goodkind gave Mrs. Woodsy her first job offer of a lifetime: travel around France and to study various diseases that people were fighting. Mrs. Woodsy would report the findings to the same magazine that Mr. Goodkind was contributing to. Mrs. Woodsy was particularly interested which diseases evolved throughout history and the reasons behind some diseases progressed and some died off. That interest in which diseases became obsolete and which progressed was at the forefront of her studies. Rover and Oscar were so impressed by Mrs. Woodsy that they themselves decided to pursue studies in sciences that they dreamt of for years but never got to because of their busy schedules. Rover and Oscar were studying the effects on climate change of the Earth. Both Rover and Oscar survived the hurricanes of '04 and '08 in Cayman Islands. They were both in awe of the complexities of Earth and both began in-depth studies of the solar system and eventually became astronauts. After Rover and Oscar returned from space, they were inspired to make a difference in the world, and they gathered a large group of their animal friends to clean up the Earth. They spent 5 long weeks cleaning the entire surface area of Earth, with only having 3 breaks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. By the end of the 5 weeks, the Earth was sparkling clean. Rover and his friends could not believe the sight they saw next. There was a sparkling blue crystal that descended onto Earth from the sky. A beautiful rainbow appeared in the sky, and a bright star appeared in the sky that flashed bright neon colors. All of a sudden, the sky was written a thank you message for cleaning the Earth. Rover and Oscar were deeply touched by the message and acknowledgement of their efforts. The end. This was a Rover story submitted by our dear contributor Diana from Illinois. Thank you so much for your story, and we love to feature anything that you present on our videos. Rover is known across for his adventures, and anyone knowing what adventures he's been to is welcome to contribute theirs. Thank you for joining us for this story time session with Little Rover. We were delighted to have you, and have you not listening to the grim news and not being bothered by repeat guidances and instructions of different kinds by those in power. Instead, we are the people. We're going to get into story times. We're going to challenge ourselves with our imagination. And this is how we get through.